back in De Re Metallica, and I wanted to show you this image. I couldn't find it before. This guy has a little roof over his head, and he is, and walls, it must have been so cold and so windy, but he's controlling a double-acting water wheel, a reversible water wheel to lift water out of the mine. If these images, I looked, and if you wanted to see this image clearly, you can go online and look up De Re Metallica images. And that has to do with what I said earlier, that I have a plan. Okay, I wanted you to see that. And this book, I showed it to you yesterday. This is in Lisbon at the Museum of Decorative Arts. If you would like to see what the shops look like, I didn't film it well. But if you would go to YouTube, type in Google YouTube 2.33.1 and maybe put in the word shops, you'll find my video where I went in and filmed the shops. There's part 1 and part 2. I moved the camera too fast. I'm sorry for that, but I can't undo it now. I may do something better this spring when I go back to Portugal. And then 2.34.1 and 2, I go to Sintra and look at some of the things in the palace that were made that way. So just telling you that that's there. Again, my filming wasn't that great. Sorry about that. Now, again, I think I showed you this before. This is my mom's writing. She and Dad went to England, and they knew I was interested in water and digging ditches. And she said there's see page 19. Well, there it is. Guy looks just like I do. He's digging ditches by hand, and what he's doing is he's making a water meadow, something that I've studied intensely, and will later in the year, when I talk about water, we'll deal with this. All right, that's kind of, now today, turning from specific trades to generalists, the yeoman in Tudor and Stuart England. This book is not as pretty as some, but it's real interesting. I mean, the care and management of horses. Yeoman in England, again, there's a bake oven. Yeoman in England had to be, in a way, generalists. And when the printing press was first out, there was a whole host of little booklets, a book of divers devices, which I have not even begun to tap that tremendous amount of information, which maybe I will still. But the yeoman is an example of one of these generals. There was a man I knew in Brazil, Compadre Tilo, my best friend, Brazilian friend, man friend anyway, that was a peasant, and in a way he was the Brazilian equivalent of a yeoman. Now this book, Canadian Settler's Guide, was published in 1855. I'm sure it's available. 1855 Toronto, and the Canadian Settler's Guide. This was for women, especially who were going to Canada from England, and they were going to need to know how to make their own bread making. It says beer, bees, curing of fish and meat. It's a fascinating book to read. It doesn't have any images at all. Dyeing wool, gardening, soap making, no images at all, but fascinating to read. And I doubt if it's very expensive, and I'm quite sure it's available if you want to find it. Now, changing my subject just slightly here, name of your trade. I don't know what this book is, but so many people, especially around here, if you have the last name of Baker, well, an ancestor was a baker. If you have the last name of Fletcher, many people might not know this. You had an ancestor who made arrows, or put the feathers on the arrows. What I have done is, I think I've underlined. I'm not sure by underlining. I'm not sure what I was thinking. The trouble is, the name of your trade. I don't know what book this came from. It must have been about genealogy, but it could possibly be found. Chapter 14, the name of your trade. And related, here's Surnames Reflecting Medieval Life, History of Surnames. Maybe that's the name of this book. Back at the time that I photocopied these, I wasn't being very careful. Baxter was a female baker, it says. Butler served bottles. Butler, bottles. Chandler made candles. Waller. I have ancestors who were wallers, sometimes a builder of walls, but other origins possible. In my case, it may have actually been a ditch digger, which is a waller, which is real ironic. Now, this I showed you already. That comes from Tunis. These, I'm not sure what I was doing here, but I think that this is from the table of contents of a book called Made in England. That's my guess. Made in England. I've lost my copy. I need to get myself another copy. Woodland crafts, crafts of the field, workshop crafts, sled making, sail making, net making. I need to get another copy of this book. Okay, and then finally, this Reader's Digest. Now, I did show this to you. No, I'm not sure if I showed you this before. I think I did, earlier in the course. Happy birthday, Frank, and I hope you also will enjoy it, Jane, from Dad. This was my birthday, 1982. Well, it came out in 1981, and I loaned this. I just got this back yesterday. I loaned it to a neighbor, and here it turned out he had one himself. He's moved here with his family of 9, I think, 8 or 9 children, and they're going to try to do a lot of things the old way. Buying your land, energy from wood, raising your own food, enjoying harvest. Skills and crafts for house and homestead. Hooked rugs, patchwork, broom making, woodworking, soap making, candle making, basketry. Let's take a look at woodworking. Now let's look at basketry. $3.97. Oh, there's weaving. $3.97. This there it is. Basket weaving strong out of wood splints. This was part of that movement of the late 60s, most of the 70s, or at least early 70s, back to the land movement when people were so dissatisfied, myself included. It's very thoughtful of Dad, Mom and Dad, whoever, to get me this book. I'm sure it's available. I'm sure it would be, Reader's Digest. This was very popularly done. Interesting that that's there. All right, tomorrow I'm going to go back to the blackboard, and I may or may not come back here to this table. So, bye for now.